You know that feeling when you finally check your savings account after a really good month? Maybe you got a bonus, maybe you just didn't spend as much as usual, and you see a number that actually feels substantial? Like not just 2 or 300 bucks sitting there looking sad and temporary, but actual money, real money. The kind of balance that makes you think, okay, I'm doing this. I'm actually building something here. And then life happens. The car needs new tires, your laptop decides it's had enough, someone's getting married and you need to travel, your dog gets sick, or honestly, sometimes nothing dramatic happens at all. You just spend. A little here, a little there, and suddenly that number you were so proud of starts shrinking, and before you know it, you're back where you started staring at a balance that barely covers next month's rent. My name is Robert, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why hitting that $5,000 savings milestone feels like trying to walk up an escalator that's going down. I've watched people, smart, hardworking, financially aware people, get stuck right at this exact point over and over again. And here's the thing, it's not about willpower. It's not even really about how much money you make. It's about something way more subtle and honestly, way more interesting. Because once you understand why this particular threshold is so hard to cross, everything starts to shift. The way you think about saving changes, the way you protect your money changes, and suddenly that $5,000 stops feeling like this impossible temporary milestone and starts feeling like the foundation of something bigger. So let's talk about why most people can't seem to hold on to $5,000. And more importantly, what actually works when you're trying to get past it. The invisible threshold. First, let's just acknowledge that $5,000 is a weird amount of money. It's not enough to feel truly secure, like you're not retiring on $5,000, but it's also not nothing. It's substantial enough that when it's sitting in your account, it starts to feel available, usable, like it's just waiting there for a purpose. And that's the first problem. See, when you have $500 saved, nobody's thinking about that money as anything other than an emergency fund. It's basically untouchable because, what are you going to do with $500? Can't buy a car, can't take a real vacation, can't even handle most actual emergencies with that amount. So it just sits there, protected by its own inadequacy. But $5,000? That's when your brain starts getting creative. That's a down payment on a car. That's a decent vacation. That's a new laptop and a new phone. That's enough to finally redo the kitchen backsplash you've been thinking about. Your brain, which has been in hardcore survival and scarcity mode for years, suddenly sees possibility everywhere. I watched my cousin Sarah hit $5,200 last year. I remember because she texted me a screenshot. She was that excited. And within 6 weeks, it was down to $800. And she wasn't being reckless. She wasn't out there blowing money on nonsense. She replaced her dying phone, $700, bought her boyfriend a birthday gift that was actually nice for once, $200, paid for her sister's baby shower contribution, $150, got new work clothes because hers were literally falling apart, $300, and on and on. Each decision made perfect sense individually, but collectively, they evaporated her savings because each time she looked at that balance, her brain whispered, "You can afford this now." Here's what's actually happening psychologically. You're not treating the money as savings anymore. You're treating it as available capital. And the moment you make that mental shift, you've already lost. The category confusion problem. Most people, when they start saving, they just put money in savings, which sounds obvious, right? But here's where it gets tricky. That account becomes a catch-all. It's your emergency fund, but it's also your maybe I'll buy a new couch fund, and your if something fun comes up fund, and your general financial cushion fund. You're asking one pool of money to serve 6 different purposes, and that never works. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a party and someone asks you to watch their jacket. Cool, no problem. Then someone else asks you to hold their phone. Sure. Then their keys. Then their wallet. Then someone's asking you to guard their slice of pizza while they go to the bathroom. Before you know it, you're standing there buried under everybody's stuff, responsible for everything. And when someone comes back and says, "Hey, where's my jacket?" You're like, which jacket? there are 7 jackets here. That's your savings account at $5,000. When the car breaks down, you think, well, that's an emergency. I guess I can use savings. When your friend invites you on a trip, you think, I've been working hard and I have the money. When you see something on sale that you've wanted forever, you think, this is actually financially smart because it's 40% off. Every expense feels justified because you haven't clearly defined what that money is for. It's just money, available money, and available money gets spent. The people who actually break through $5,000 and keep building, they've split their savings into categories, even if it's just mentally at first. They've got emergency money that's genuinely untouchable except for real emergencies. They've got fun money that's designated for trips or experiences. They've got upgrade money for when something needs replacing. Basically, they've built walls inside that savings account, and those walls matter way more than you think. The autonomous illusion. Okay, so here's something I see all the time. People set up automatic transfers to savings. Like every payday, $200 automatically moves from checking to savings. And they think they've solved the problem. They think automation equals discipline. And look, automation helps. I'm not saying it doesn't. But here's what actually happens for most people. They automate the deposit, but they don't automate the protection. So money flows into savings automatically, and then it flows right back out manually whenever something comes up. You're basically building a leaky bucket. Water's coming in through automation, but it's draining out through a dozen little holes you haven't plugged. The people who succeed at this don't just automate deposits, they automate the categorization. They automate the barriers. Some of them literally open multiple savings accounts, one at a different bank that's annoying to access where their real emergency fund lives, one that takes 3 days to transfer money out of, one that's connected to specific goals with specific rules about when it can be touched. I know it sounds excessive, but honestly, the friction matters. When you have to wait 3 days to access your emergency fund, you have 3 days to ask yourself, is this actually an emergency or do I just want it to be? That pause is everything. The lifestyle creep no one wants to admit. Okay, so here's the sneaky one that nobody really wants to admit. When you have more money saved, you unconsciously give yourself permission to spend more day to day. It's like having a security blanket makes you feel braver, which, well, makes sense, right? That's kind of the point of a safety net. But financially, it backfires. You start ordering delivery more because, hey, you've got savings. You can afford to be a little lazy tonight. You upgrade your subscriptions. You say yes to more social plans. You buy the nicer version of things instead of the budget option. None of it feels significant in the moment, but your baseline spending creeps up by $300, $400 a month, and suddenly you're not actually saving anymore. You're just maintaining. I did this myself a few years ago. Hit about $7,000 saved and thought I was crushing it, Started feeling like I'd earned a little luxury. Nothing crazy, just slightly nicer everything. Better coffee, better headphones, better gym membership, occasional Ubers instead of always taking the train. And my savings just stalled, flatlined for like 8 months because my subconscious had decided that $7,000 was enough now and I could relax. The fix? I had to track my spending for a month. Actually track it, not just vaguely monitor it, and confront the fact that I was spending $600 more per month than I was 6 months earlier. Not on anything memorable, just lifestyle. If you're stuck at $5,000, go back and look at what you were spending when you had $1,000 saved. I bet it's noticeably less than what you're spending now. The real win, behavioral security. Here's what I've come to understand about this whole thing. The reason $5,000 is so hard to cross isn't actually about the number. It's about the shift you have to make in how you see money. Below $5,000, you're in scarcity mode. You're thinking short term. You're thinking about survival and getting by and making it through the month. But above $5,000, you need to start thinking like someone building wealth. And that requires different habits, different rules, different mental frameworks. You have to stop seeing your savings as one big pile of available money and start seeing it as multiple protected categories. You have to build real friction between yourself and your emergency fund.
You have to watch your baseline spending like a hawk because lifestyle creep will sabotage you faster than any single big expense. And honestly, you have to get comfortable with the idea that having money saved means not spending it, even when you technically could, even when it would be nice to, even when everyone around you is spending and you feel like you're missing out. That's the mental shift that actually matters. Moving forward. Look, I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Changing your financial behavior is hard, and it's especially hard when you feel like you've already been working at it for years. But here's what I want you to understand. If you can get to $5,000 once, you can get past it. You've already proven you can save. You've already built the muscle. Now you just need to protect what you've built. Start tonight. Look at your savings and ask yourself, what is this money actually for? Write it down. Split it up, even if it's just on paper.
Decide what counts as an emergency. Create some friction. Open a second savings account if you have to, or set up rules about how long you have to wait before touching certain money. And then watch your spending for the next month. Really watch it. Because I promise you, if you're stuck at $5,000, part of the problem is that your baseline spending has crept up without you noticing. You've already done the hard part. You've already saved $5,000, which is more than most people ever manage. Now you just need to defend it long enough to build something bigger. And honestly, once you crack this, once you figure out how to protect and grow that money past the $5,000 mark, everything else gets easier because you're not just saving anymore, you're building. And that's a completely different game.